Welcome to Book Selfie. You just tuned yourself to the coolest place to buy your books to read and listen. It is the site where readers find the niftiest books, awesomest stories from the coolest authors. It is the place that books a lot.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have an intense interview with Hilary Berger. She is not only an author, also a therapist, as well as an EMDR trained psychotherapist. We're going to ask her about that, okay, what that means. But one way or another, she does help people. So, we will be talking about her newly published book, Work Like a Mother, rewriting the script for a mother's career and wellness journey. We will also get into her 30 years of experience working with stay-at-home mothers and, get this, preparing them for careers. So let me get her online. Hold on. There you go. Hello, Hilary.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be on your show.
Okay. Have you memorized the answers?
No, not at all.
Okay, so I did the introduction, but I am going to ask you to do your own introduction, of course. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah. So, again, it's so great to be here. My name is Hilary Berger. I am the founder of Work Like a Mother, also the author of this wonderful new interactive workbook called Work Like a Mother, rewriting the script for a woman's career and wellness journey. I come to this work both from a very personal place and also from a professional place. And I think anyone who goes through the book will realize that the very first part of the book is actually my own story.
Pick up the book. Let's see it.
Okay.
You have the book.
So, I was a ambitious and highly motivated professional person prior to having children, and had 4 children in my early 30s, and quickly realized that there was a huge cognitive dissonance for me about what I expected from my own self and my life, and what the realities were to raise children and be at home. And I quickly got the sense that I was not alone with the confusion and sort of the lack of validation for my experience. And so, although I loved being at home with my children for several decades, I was very quick to realize that it was coming at a great expense to myself personally. And I realized as a professional therapist and counselor and educator that there was no reason for me to disappear, very subtly, but very much so while raising my children. And so I started to take a close look at the research around women's career development and their well-being and mental health, and began creating Work Like a Mother. And so my journey has been one of actually living the method and the model that is what this book, shares and teaches. And it's really rewriting the rules and the framework around how women integrate their own professional identity and their intellectual curiosity into the role of parenting in whatever way they see fit to parent. And I always begin with saying that mothers should parent as they choose or as they need to, and they could also live their best life and fulfill their own potential. And that's
we need to see the book, though. You have to show the book.
Okay.
There you go.
Here is the workbook, and
awesome.
And it is really through the lens of close to 3,000 women who have gone through this method and this model, and it is really because of them and their wisdom and their courage to work with me over many decades now, so that this can be really ready for the world. So I'm
Okay,
really in gratitude very much
awesome.
to them. Mhm.
How about your credentials? Can you tell us your credentials? I
Sure.
know you have a bunch of letters before your name, after your name, you know.
Yeah, right. So I approached my career in a very academic way and earned two master's degrees, one as a therapist, one as a specialist in education, and then went on to pursue a doctoral degree um, in education with a very strong lens on counseling, always with an interest in women's development. And more recently have been I've been trying to learn and grow all through these decades, but more recently very much focused on um, therapy through the lens of EMDR, which is a treatment for trauma and
Mhm.
a wonderful healing method that I'm thoroughly enjoying. So, um, yeah, just
Okay,
always
so
trying to practice and have courage to learn, which is
uh-huh.
not to be taken for granted, especially for moms.
That's what you teach anyway, right? One
Right.
of the teachings that you do. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did your author journey start?
Right. I think you're the first person to say this word to me, right? An author. It's always, for me, I always had to write, but I was not trained as a writer. I decided in 2000, I always thought, in fact, I have a client who I'm currently working with almost 20 years later, who said to me in one of my early classes for moms, Hillary, your work should be a book. And this was probably 20 plus years ago. And I always kept that in my back pocket, never thought that it would be possible. After all, I was a very busy mother of four children at home and just integrating my work in a very slow and steady way, but without the confidence to think of myself as an author. Fast forward to 2019, pre COVID, um, I decided with a dear friend and colleague to take a writing course to try to learn how to write a book, and suffered in profound ways around the challenge of that. And, spent a year in a class that met once a week, created an outline, and then put it down. Life got in the way, as it often does for women and mothers and for humans, but certainly during COVID, and decided to pick it back up and continue to work on it. And it's so my journey is it's a very young journey, and it's exciting. It's been a very challenging project, I have to say, but I'm so
Okay.
thrilled because my mission was always for women around the world to be able to see themselves, to be validated, and have an actual method designed through the lens of their lives and their experience as caregivers, as parents, to have a way to be their best selves, which does not really exist at this point.
Uh-huh.
Um,
So, um, this book is written for moms, right? Who would like to take their careers back or create their careers. And from our previous talks, you also mentioned that this book is also good for therapists
yes,
to follow some steps. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
definitely. Yes. And so, for sure, this book was designed and written to speak directly to women at any stage of parenting, even to women who are thinking of becoming a mother. It is a reformed perspective based on research on how to approach designing a woman's career and parenting journey, with mental health at the forefront. And so it moves women through a series of modules designed first to validate the unique struggle and pain that is not really named in our society to date, about what it feels like to actually lose, access to yourself and to your essence and to your intellectual identity, which often very subtly disappears while raising children. And again, this is never to be mistaken with the, importance and the priority of the role of a mother, but it does not need to come at the expense of a woman's vitality, and it often does. And so women come into parenting at a often at an accomplished level, intellectually, fulfilled and educated. And so it is very destabilizing for women to not have preparation or foresight around what it means to leave their careers to raise their children. And so this whole book is about rewriting the script on how women can position themselves and really reimagine their parenting journey through the continuum of parenting stages. So it throws all of the old definitions of what careers look like really on its head, and it rewrites from
Okay.
scratch rather. And with yeah.
So,
Mhm,
question is,
mhm.
do you work with women who had careers and became moms and going back to their careers? Or do you work with women who had no careers and became moms? Now they want to go back and do something with their lives. Which one?
But you know what? To me, integrating, we all have different roles in our life, right? It's almost like if we grow up in today's society and if we are educated and if we worked or perhaps and had a fulfilling career, or perhaps we never had the opportunity, each person, each human being, I focus on women, it applies for certainly for men too, is designed to have purpose and meaning in their life, to create impact in their life. And it's a part of our nature and personality to be able to nurture that. So the answer is I work with women who have never had a career, who
Mm-hmm.
are feeling that they, are missing their own identity this way. I work with women who have left careers and who are really just looking to feel more like themselves, miss the intellectual challenge of work, miss the community of work, miss having evidence of their competency, right? Of the muscles of using their problem solving skills in unique ways, right? And this is just separate from being other centered. Parenting is all about nurturing others, right? And
Mm-hmm.
women often sort of slip away very subtly, where their needs become very much secondary to those of their children and perhaps their spouse. So, this is a way for women to model for their families and for their children what a woman who feels vital in her own skin, in her own life, looks like while being the greatest mother she can be, right? They don't have to come at the expense of each other. And that is really the message. And this is also designed to help those who support women, other counselors, teachers, educators, um, who would like to have guidance in how to support and mentor young women or women who are retraining or women whose children have left the home and who are looking for purpose. This is a wonderful book for them to use as a resource.
Okay. Um, I'm going to have to find somebody else for the guys.
I could speak to the guys, but this is about women. But yes,
This is
guys
all
certainly
about
have
women.
their own
Yes.
set of unique issues for sure.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question. About a month ago or so, you went to Chicago, I believe,
Yes.
for a meeting, something. And what was the purpose of that?
Yeah. So I am an active member of a professional association called the National Career Development Association, and that
Mhm.
is an arm of the American Counseling Association, which is sort of a very large global professional group of all different types of counselors, educators. In particular, in Chicago, this was focused more on career development specialists. And I was
Mhm.
able to actually bring the workbook to this meeting and to share it with several thousand educators who really seemed to be excited about it.
Awesome.
And to actually, do a great presentation on how they can use this method in their own work to inform their own practice. So yeah, it's very exciting, and it's much needed. Um, you know, Having something named and validated and supported by research and evidence is so important. And what I think um, people who are not in the research arena don't realize, but most of the theories around career development or mental health are really designed through the lens of men's lives, right? And
Uh-huh.
certainly from the 19th, this is a very old school discipline. And so it's important for women to see themselves in how we talk with them about expectations and how to guide women so that they can really fulfill all of their roles, without guilt or shame or confusion. So this is all about naming the truth, right? Naming and validating.
Validating. Yeah, that's
Yes.
important, of course.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So you went to Chicago. You came back. Of course, you're working with women,
Yes.
and I know you also do much more than just helping women. You also do like maybe meetings, gatherings, workshops, and etc. Can
Yes.
you tell us all about that?
Yes, for several decades, what I learned early on was the importance of a sense of belonging and a sense of community for mothers. Parenting could be very isolating for women. Women spend a ton of time by themselves in their homes, a ton of time in their SUVs, like driving children and waiting for children. And so I started to bring the Work Like a Mother method and module, which is really a combination of career development, grounded in therapeutic principles around well being, um, with working in community with other people, right? So it's a healing process. And when people can sit together and not feel alone in their experience and not feel like something's wrong with them for not feeling so fortunate as they think they should, right? To have perhaps the luxury to stay at home, right? We can look at this in many ways, right? This isn't about one way of parenting or another, or going to work or not. It's really about an individual's vitality and to
Mhm.
integrate their role as a mother, right, across the different parenting stages, right, based on the demands of their life, but certainly slowly but surely making sure they have relevance, right? And when you're witnessed by other people, like that's why the courses have been so important, or weekends. Now I'm moving into doing retreats. Um, it's so powerful for people to not feel alone and to feel witnessed, right?
So
So
tell us about the upcoming gathering or workshop, shall we call it?
yeah, right. So right now we're in the process of launching, um, a course for women. It is offered. I live in Connecticut, so it's offered in person, but it's also offered remotely. And this is the way of the world now, which is so great. Women from anywhere in the world, really. And believe me, I have had women from all different countries waking up at all hours of the night to join us. This is a course. It is called Fast Track to Career Reinvention. And it really is a presentation of the workbook. The material in the workbook is the text. And it is designed for women both to heal, to rediscover themselves, to find their authentic voice again. And I think, and to start to clarify what it is that would bring them a sense of meaning and purpose and vitality, and then go about the business of tooling up and building their skills and realizing that obsolete skills, which is often what occurs for women when they leave their careers, does not mean that they have disappeared or that they're not qualified, right? And so we learn how to rebuild from the ground up, right? We rebuild from the inside out, right? Because women's resources, although they don't have easy access to them at the moment, right? Because there's a lot when people lose evidence of their competency, they lose confidence, and we sort of sink into ourselves and shut down, right? So this is about reawakening, and trust me when I tell you that it does not take long for women to re-access all that they are and to find their vitality again, and to build the courage to realize that they could have a growth mindset about reskilling, about tooling up, about taking small risks. And that is what the method of Work Like a Mother is. It is a daily living and mapping method of very, professionally relevant initiatives that are attainable and realistic. Slowly but surely, we rebuild the muscles of realizing that we belong, that we can do it, that there's no terrible, consequence to trying
Yeah.
something. And I think what the truth is that to society, we don't realize the struggle that women are living with during these decades because there has not been language for it. And my goal has always been to name it and create language and create a roadmap back to themselves. And that's what this is all about.
Okay. So how long does the workshop take?
So this particular workshop
Mhm.
it's 4 sessions, 3 hours for each session. It goes so quickly. And then very often women want to keep going with each other, and we start again and we just keep moving. But it is a 4-week program, and it is really transformational. It's life-changing for women.
Okay. Four weeks.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like each week there's one session, or how does that work?
So each week there is one session. It is 3 hours long. In between, there are modules and work to do, and actually the workbook. And then women come back together and work together on what they've done, and we just keep moving through the process.
Oh,
Um, and very
nice.
often women are only first getting started. Although 4 weeks is a great start. It's 4 weeks, but it's 3 hours each week. So
Okay.
that's a good amount of time. And you know what? It's a great start. And I will tell you, having done this for almost 30 years now, almost, that it is very common for most women when they come to class and they go through the first class that there are just tears of relief, tears of joy, that there's actually a way back for them.
Sure.
So it's a
Yes.
beautiful, compassionate, healing experience, and yet it's very solution oriented. It's very much focused on skill building. And we actually partner very often with Indeed.com, which is, the job search
Yes.
company,
Mhm.
who will actually come in to our session at the end, and they will train each woman on how to, use and optimize, their Indeed. So,
Yes,
and
that's nice.
it's very nice, and it's a wonderful way to feel,
Yes.
sort of skilled up. So I'm always grateful to them when they do that.
Okay. So you kind of like touch this subject, but I want to bring it out because we're talking about workshops and people around the world. So whatever you do is not only for Connecticut.
No, no. Work Like a Mother is really designed. The reason, one of the primary motivation forces for me was for Work Like a Mother to be accessible to any woman in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it is available, accessible, and that was the purpose, among
Okay.
other
So this
purposes.
workshop is online workshop, I gather, because people around the
The
world.
workshop is offered, it's offered in person, but it's offered also online at the same time. It's
Okay.
hybrid. It's
Okay. It's
hybrid.
hybrid.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Mhm.
So how can these women contact you?
Yeah, well, I think the easiest way to contact me is email.
Email.
Yeah,
Okay.
email Hillary, Hilary, at worklikeamother.com. I
Or go
also
to
have a
your website, right?
website. What's that?
Go to your website.
Yes, of course, right? You could reach me through my website. You
Mhm.
could reach me on LinkedIn. Um, and hopefully there'll be other ways to connect with me as I
Okay.
grow and learn. I am certainly a work in progress. So, and honestly, I live this method and this model completely. I am no different than anyone else and have experienced the same struggles, the same, desire to have life feel really full and meaningful, and also realizing the very real demands of motherhood.
Okay.
And yeah, so
And I'm actually that is going to take me back to one question that I had in mind. That is chapter one.
ah,
Chapter one is uh, we were talking, and I kind of went through the book, and it is quite personal. So
yeah,
go ahead and tell us about chapter one.
yeah, right. Um, if you would have asked me, 10 years ago, would I ever write my own story? I would never have thought it would be um, so important and useful. But it occurred to me that when people can relate to someone else's experience and someone else's pain, um, then they feel connected. And to me, what I wanted readers to know is that I come to this with an expertise for sure, but I come to this from a very personal place as well. Um, and in fact, Work Like a Mother was created, although I didn't realize it at the time, in response to my own struggle. And I think in looking at the first chapter, even for me, when I look at it's painful. um, and really, for me, it was one important strand of my life. But again, if you knew me during my parenting years, you would never know that this was my story, right? I lived, and I still do, a very, I'm love being a mother, was very active and busy in my, life as a mother. Um, but there's this unspoken, silent struggle. And I am trying very much in this book to name it, that exists for women who come to motherhood accomplished and educated, even who want to, feel more intellectually stimulated, right? Or who want to feel like they can impact, right? It doesn't matter where someone is in their career journey or educational journey. But for me, in writing this story, um, it was what I went through as a young
Nice.
new mother, and my children are grown. I have 4 grown children. My oldest daughter is getting married. She is 29 years old, and I have three other children. My youngest is 22, and each of them are, remarkable people. I don't, how I chose to parent them was very intentional. But I also knew that there was much sacrifice going on, about how I envisioned my future and my work. And so it's been my mission to figure out a way to live and to share with others and to validate others' truth so that girls in the next generation who are positioning themselves for their future could actually know that motherhood is a legitimate part of their career journey. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
need to be the opposite of their career journey. We never knew that. No one ever talks about that, right? I've done a lot of research around this and surveys, right? So we're trying to take away the mystique and the taboo around smart, ambitious women pursuing their professional goals, but also having the foresight to know that should they choose to become parents one day, there are
Mhm.
many things they can do to position themselves so they have flexible choices and options. This is not discussed in the world. There is no institution that labels this or talks about this anywhere, but it's very important that we do, so that we can have women parenting their children happily, growing themselves, modeling for their children. And it is not this dichotomy of going to work or staying at home. That is just outdated. That no more.
And you're the one who's going to break that.
I hope so. That's
That's
the
it.
point.
Let me get this straight. Somebody coming from an experience, two masters, one PhD, a bunch of other credentials, and helped over 3,000 women and still helping. And she's here telling women that, hey, there is still hope for you. You don't have to stay home. You can actually get a career.
What
And
I'm
this is coming
saying,
from you, right?
you're talking to someone who was a stay-at-home mom for almost
Uh-huh.
for 25 years, but
Whew.
always integrated my professional relevance. And so my message is, if your choice is to be at home with your children, which is a wonderful choice, if
Mhm.
that is where your heart is, even looking at it for certain stages of children's development, right? We know how important it is for children to have their parents, access to be,
Mhm.
nurtured and attached safely. And that could happen whether women work at home or out of the house. But the point is that we don't need to choose one lane. We can choose to parent the way our hearts tell us we need to or want to. Many of us don't have a choice, right? We may be single mothers, we may be
Mhm.
providing the primary source of income, right? But this is not about work or stay at home. It's about how do you integrate these parts of your identity that are not disposable, right? We can't one day decide that we're not going to be, you know, a sister or a friend or, a daughter, right? We can't
Uh-huh.
choose to dispose of roles. And we really can't choose to dispose of our professional role either, right? That's part of how we were shaped. It's the way that we were educated, right? It is the way in which the world has mirrored back to us that we're smart, that we are capable, right? And so there's no reason to abandon such an important part of our identity, even if we choose to raise our children at home, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, at home and at work, I don't even really think about that language anymore. To me, it's about looking at the stages of parenting across 20 years or more and saying, looking at this, what are ways that you could be vital and relevant and intellectually oriented always, right?
Yes.
Slowly but surely. And you
Yes.
know that when it's time to go to work, it, right? But meanwhile, you're building your confidence, right? Let's not underestimate the power of confidence.
Of
And that's
course.
the first thing
Yes.
that women lose when they leave their careers to be at home. So
Yeah.
we don't need
So
to do that anymore.
I'm going to start walking on the street, and every woman that I see is like, "Hey, have you spoken with Hillary?"
Right.
Go speak with Hillary, right?
There's no age or stage of
Yes,
being
of course.
a young woman or a young mother or a mom with children in elementary, in middle school, in high school, in college, empty nesting. This applies to all women at every stage, right?
Yes.
We want to feel our best self. It impacts our mental health. It impacts the quality of our brain health. It impacts our joy, our ability to feel joy, right? It is a really profound experience that only women who go through it know what it feels like to lose access to yourself.
Yeah.
And it is just not necessary. So this book is a modularized roadmap of healing if you have lost access to yourself, of rediscovering who you are and what your mission and impact should be, and how to do it with a mapping process. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. I am out of questions. Would you like to add a little bit more? Do you have anything else to add more?
Oh, you know what? To me, it's funny. This has evolved so much. And I think what I really want to convey most is that, to not be alone with your experience is so important. And to realize that, there's nothing wrong with you if you feel unsettled at home while you're parenting. It doesn't mean you're not a great mother. It just means that you might have a higher level of what I call career saliency, which is simply like we all need a certain amount of intellectual stimulation, and it differs, right? It differs for each person.
Yes.
So just trust your judgment to know that if something feels off, it's okay to reach out for help, right?
Awesome.
And this book, I hope, could be the first step. And
Yes.
I'm always available. I am available. And that's why it's so great that we can talk, because I want people to know that I'm no different than them. I just have been chipping away at my own professional activities. And who would ever think that I'd be sitting here talking with you, right? It's
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so all they have to do is just go buy the book and just get a little bit of an idea, follow these steps, and if they need any help, go to your website, contact you, and you're there. That's all there is to it.
That's right. And you know what? I hope that it prompts women who go through this book. Actually, I encourage women to do this. Of course, it's fine to do it on your own, but grab a friend, grab a book club, grab a group, and talk. Right? It's meant to talk, and consider joining one of my courses, which is available remotely, or attend a retreat, which will be in the process of being scheduled. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I want to thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure talking to you. And let's just go out there and save some women, will we?
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Book Selfie. You just tuned yourself to the coolest place to buy your books to read and listen. It is the site where readers find the niftiest books, awesomest stories from the coolest authors. It is the place that books a lot